But my question is that what do you mean by semantic representation? What is the word? Is it something formalized, something like also write down potential quantifiers?
Ты можешь показывать номер или как-то чтобы меня последние дни я говорил кстати, нет, если могу подумать. Я нашел в Питере культура. О, ничего себе, Кора, привет.
Dear colleagues, we're starting. Please take your seats and take your talks out there, please.
Yes, we can also represent it by
What silence? Here.
Okay, good afternoon. Yeah, so I'm okay, so yeah, thanks for the invitation here. So my name is from National University of Singapore. So today I will talk about social observatory, basically social media and their related research in public event detection, user mobility, and wellness. I guess if I'm too soft, you let me know. Maybe I also tend to speak a bit fast. Maybe on this one, yeah, so you can hear a bit better. Yeah. Okay. So this I outline my talk. I'll just roughly go through this and then I'll introduce the system and talk a bit about large-scale social media analysis, in particular about images and video. Then talk about applications in demography, wellness, and so on. So tomorrow's open lecture, I'll talk a bit more about the technical challenges as well as kind of open issues as well. Okay. So I guess we are in the internet world. So in fact, a lot of information actually are being communicated on the internet, and there are lots of actually social networks. This picture is a bit old, so in fact there are lots of new social networks that are coming out in the last few years. And of course, the other trend is that the users are actually wearing more those sensor devices, more mobile phones, everything are giving out your locations and everything. So actually there are lots of connectivity now, so-called live information. And also the whole internet is going mobile. Right? So users are accessing internet from anywhere and everywhere. Okay, so this is the picture that I like to show. In fact, our project started 5 years ago. So in fact, I've been updating these pictures over the years. So these are the new, some of the new tools here and there. But largely remain the same. I think the purpose of social network is basically to connect with friends, to share information, and also to basically, a lot of time actually is basically to broadcast where you are and to share with your friends. So just a quick outline of the social network platforms. I think we can divide them into several classes. The most important, well, not say the most important, I mean one of the most common ones will be the so-called social network platforms that we all know. I roughly divide them into 3 types. One is basically private, which is, for example, Facebook. I guess in Russia is what, the VK, right? And there's a professional one called LinkedIn, and the public one I call it Twitter. Right? So I guess as a person, I typically have 3 accounts. If I want to talk about my jobs, I want to apply for a job actually. I want to advertise that I'm available in the job market, actually I'm going to update my LinkedIn account. So actually there are lots of studies that if I follow someone's LinkedIn account, well, if it's someone who is maybe less than 40 years old and his profile is updated, that means it's likely that he's available. He's looking for jobs. Well, looking to change jobs or something like that. Yeah. And then of course if you want something you want to tell the world, of course you go to Twitter. Right? So in fact the 3 platforms actually serve 3 different purposes. Facebook is communicating with friends, or VK, right? But of course over the years you got too many friends, so actually it becomes like semi-public already. Right? And second source will be the so-called media sharing platforms. I think this started with Flickr, and then of course the mobile image sharing site like Instagram becomes very popular, and of course YouTube has been there for a while. And the new one like Periscope, Vine, these are actually for people to share. This is for you to share short videos, and this is for you to share long videos. And these are all very, very popular. And the third platform, of course, is so-called social messaging platform. The most popular one in the past was WhatsApp, where most of us we use it as messaging services. So, like in Singapore, I think this is the most popular one. Among all the professional people, if I make arrangements, typically I use WhatsApp to make arrangements. And of course, recently WeChat, which is the China version, actually become very popular. Right? They started with voice sharing, but of course now actually most of the Chinese in Singapore overseas they use WeChat to communicate. And Snapchat is a new one. It started as a social sharing platform. The main difference between Snapchat and WhatsApp is that the Snapchat you share information using sketches, images, and video, right? Whereas in WhatsApp, Line, and WeChat actually they're primarily text-based. Right? So Snapchat somehow becomes very popular, and of course the other reason is that the messages you send, it disappear after 1 or 2 readings. So that's somehow give people the assurance that this is, your privacy is preserved. But of course, privacy is a lot deeper than this. Okay. So for example, for Snapchat, it started in 2011. It shares 10 seconds of video, and then it erases itself after a certain period. And they are very popular with young people less than 24 years old. More than 100 million, I think right now could be 300 million active users now. Okay, the reason it's popular because I think it's very convenient. You just take the video and share, right? So in fact, it allows people to share real-time video. It allows people to make a story of themselves, right? Maybe I just show you today, I wake up, show you a video. On the way, I share another video. Maybe on the way, I see something, I share another video. And somehow, if you are someone famous, people will follow you. People want to know what's going on. So instead of typing, you just take a video and share, which is very, very convenient. And because of that, Snapchat is actually being used by news broadcast company. Actually, most of the Snapchat video now, actually, they, like CNN, every day they will put up a kind of news streams, so people can go in there and see what's going on today. ESPN, National Geographic, and things like that. So they all have the channel there. So Snapchat actually is being transformed from a message sharing platform to a video sharing platform to actually kind of a news, kind of live event sharing platforms. And Vine actually is just purely sharing platform. And just a bit of Periscope. Periscope actually very similar to Snapchat. The only difference is that it shares kind of live video. So you can put a video camera here, I think maybe I can put that facing me and then you share this one. So you can actually share live events, and of course people use it to share their private events, but I don't know why people follow that, but anyway it's quite popular. So the reason that it's hot, because they support mobile-based broadcast, so you can actually share the events anywhere. So it allows you to track event live, right? So for example, someone could put a camera there and then show this whole screen, and then share it live, right? So people can actually look at it. And it's integrated with Twitter, so again, it leverages on the population of Twitter. Okay, the other category I like to put down is basically location-based services. I think one of the most popular one is Foursquare, Koala, and all this, and all the Chinese counterpart. Where people go to somewhere and they say they check into somewhere. Right? So the interesting thing about this app is that in a mobile phone you only have GPS, right? If I show you a GPS here, you don't really know where I am, because here there are maybe 100 rooms here. I could be drinking coffee somewhere. I could be in someone's office. But once I check in, I actually give you the precise location. We call it point of interest. So this type of location check-in lets people share their exact location. But of course, there are other concerns. But at least there are lots of people who are sharing this one. And of course, the most recent one, you have the so-called curation platform called Pinterest, where people actually share the images they like, put them into the categories, and then share with the user, their friends. Okay, the key part about social media platform is that I think it's been started as a messaging sharing platform, now into a so-called broadcast platform, text-based, and now actually slowly transformed into the so-called image and video-based sharing platforms. I think nowadays, because mobile phone is so convenient to take picture and share, and for young people, I think they don't really like to type too much. Actually, you don't have time to type. I think if I take a picture, I need to type. That will take me at least 1 minute maybe. If I take a picture and share, it's actually less than 1 second. Right? So I guess so that's the motivation there. Right? So the trend actually is towards more and more contents, multimedia contents. Okay, I guess I just want to say the social interactions are actually inherent in human nature. It's not something new. I think all the while, maybe in ancient days, these are already there, right? So just want to give you an example. For example, selfie, right? I think nowadays people all take picture and then share. In fact, most of the modern pictures are all selfie. I think people take their own picture and share. I just want to show you that actually in the ancient day, people also do that, right? If you look at this picture. This is a picture I took in the Hermitage 2 days ago. It strikes me as someone actually taking selfie, right? Of course it's not. Right. Okay, so I'll kind of give you a quick demo of the life observatory system. Actually, just a high-level perspective. For social media platforms, right, from a user's point of view, I think from you and me, the reason we go there, I think first of all, at least for me, is I just want to communicate. Right, for example, I go to WhatsApp, basically I want to know where you are. Instead of calling you, which is very disruptive, I send you a message. So that's why it's very popular with business people, because I could be at a meeting, I cannot call you. So I send you a message, and then you reply, then you can set up groups. So slowly the group becomes bigger and bigger, right? It becomes a social media platform. Secondly, of course, is to express yourself, right? You have lots of views, you want to talk about it, you disagree with someone. And third one, actually, slowly is also emerging into the so-called self-preservation platform, right? Through this platform, I learn about how other people are living their life, how my friends are living their life, and that motivates me to also live my life in a certain way, right? There are certain people I respect, or you have a lot of achievement, but you're also very disciplined, you are very healthy and things like that. So that gives me motivation. So in fact, this one actually has, increasingly, this one is becoming more and more important, right? And of course, today we find local communities. Local community is not just those directly you link to you. From research point of view, we are also interested in who are the group of people who actually share the similar interests and activities like you, that you might be interested to link with them. Right? So for example, if I come to St. Petersburg, I might want to find people who actually have the same habit as me. So one project we thought of doing last time is basically when I come to St. Petersburg, I want to find out who are similar to me, and then I want to know where do they go. Chances are where they go are probably the places that I'm interested rather than the standard tourist places. Okay, so from the platform provider's point of view, for example, VK provide you a platform. What do they want? I think from their point of view is every user to them is a value to the company, right? So they want to retain and reach users. In order to do that, they will need to offer innovative services to improve user engagement, to make user happy, and then they want to understand user, encourage user to generate content. In fact, companies like VK, companies like Facebook, they don't generate a single content. It's not like broadcast company, they generate a lot of news. Social media company doesn't generate anything, right? They only provide a platform, encourage you to share your information. So the information that you see actually are not by the company, right? The information you see are actually shared by the users, right? So in fact, one of the key things is basically they need to understand the user and then encourage user to create contents. And of course, we call it co-viewing and co-creation of contents. And because of that, there are lots of user-generated contents. There are also lots of device-generated content because our mobile phone is keep generating location kind of information, and also the structured content. For example, I come to St. Petersburg. If I want to know about public transport, probably I find a local app that tells me where are the subway, where are the bus stop, and things like that. And this together actually give me the overall pictures of the scene within the place. I think social media itself only provide you with one aspect. So I think that's the part I want to emphasize. Okay, so that's what I want to emphasize here. In the broadcast world, I think most of the broadcast company, they create contents. So once I create content, of course I control the content, right? So if you want me to give you information, of course I filter out to the kind of information that I think is useful to you, then I publish. Well, see, the social media world is different now. Social media world, the company doesn't create any contents. Contents are all created by the users. And so the phenomenon is that user will create content, publish it, and then you as a user, you need to filter it, or as a government, you need to filter it. I mean, if you think that certain contents are not desirable, so the whole thing is different. You publish, someone else needs to filter. So the key issue here is not search now. Actually, the key issue here is filtering for social media. Okay, I just want to mention about the project that we have with Tsinghua University, which is supported by Singapore government for 10 million Sing dollars. So this we started in 2010. Yeah. So we are among the first to look into big data analytics. And our mission there is basically to access information that is not available on the web. So the project is coming to the end, but we are expecting this project to be extended for another 5 more years. So under this center, we have about 40 to 50 researchers. I think staff, about 20 PhD students, and then 20, 30 interns from all over the world. So actually, some of you who are interested to visit us, you can let us know. Okay, the research there you can actually summarize in this picture. we want to basically look at contents from multiple social media platforms, and we want to collect them and analyze them. So actually one of the most difficult tasks about social media is they are all unstructured. So the key part is how can I structure them? Structurizing, there are two aspects. One is basically organize the information. Secondly is to organize the knowledge. Right? Organizing information will give me a hierarchical view of information. Organizing knowledge will give me the so-called knowledge graph, which is made popular by Google, but actually the so-called knowledge graph has been around for a long, long time. And then from there, I want to understand the relationship between users, between entities, and between events. Okay, so this is one of the platforms we had, where we kind of crawl the information, store the information in HBase, and then for each piece of information, we do live processing using Storm and MemoryDB. So we perform sentiment analysis, we perform entity extraction, hot post detection, and duplicate detection. And then for certain groups of information, say within a week, I will do the group analysis to figure out what are the user behavior analysis, event detection, inference analysis, and so on. Yeah. And then I store the information into Elastic Search Index as well as the Graph Index. And then from there, I can show you different views of the information. So here, I think I showed a demo yesterday, but I kind of how do I can't use the mouse. Oh. Okay, so I just give you a quick demo. So this is one of our system. Basically, we track any of the entity here. Can be a Singapore election, can be a party, can be a interactive program, can be a subway. Okay, these are interactive. Can be a movie, a car brand in China, or a politician in India. So here I just want to show you the work we did with tracking 3 kind of leading candidates in Indian election. Right, I think all of you heard of Modi, right? Indian Prime Minister now. I'm sure you all know about him. Yeah. So this just to show you, we track him from, well, not track him, I mean we monitor the election on Twitter only. So this is just on Twitter, from February all the way to May. The election is around this time. Right? So actually from social media you can learn quite a lot. Wow. Later I'll say there are limitations of course, yeah. Well, you can say that the early days is not so, he's in the average, but towards the end he's getting better and better. Yeah. So for example, we look at 1 month. So within this month you can say the popularity, yeah, how many posts they have about him, and what are these posts. You can look at the sentiments. Right. Sentiment at the daily level, at the weekly level, and so on. So you can look at what are the negative posts. Anyway, I think here works. No, I think what doesn't work. Anyway. We can look at entity discovery. Just now I said that every message we extract the entity, right? Entity of person, organization, and location. So with that we can build the entity graph. So we know the relationship between entities. So for example, if I look at just location, right? So location, of course, India. This is Indian election. Gujarat is the home state of Modi, and then Pakistan, of course, India and Pakistan is always issue. I don't know whether Russia is here, but yeah, I forgot to check whether. Anyway, you can look at US is here, China is there somewhere. Yeah, China is here, so you can see what messages they talk about China and so on. Yeah, and you can look at person, what the relationship between different people and so on. Yeah. You can look at topics. say within this week, what are the hot topics that are being discussed by the users. Right? You can look at one of the topics, and together, this one of the actor, I guess, maybe one of the actors support his campaign, which is becoming very popular. So he has picture taken with this actor and things like that, and all the messages around this. Right? So these are actually automatically discovered. And of course, you can look at the engagement analysis. What are the hot images? I hope it's fast. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So these are the hot images that are broadcast shared during the week. The hot hashtags. So you can see this hashtag, who actually are posting information over this hashtag, and so on. So you can link hashtag to user to topics, user to all this. And of course, influential user analysis. Yeah. Who are the influential user? We used to divide them into organizational influential user, individual influential user, positive, negative, and so on. But these are a bit too sensitive. So if I track this I don't use the word track. If I monitor this person, and also monitor the other three candidates. This is Gandhi, this is AK. If I monitor all these three, then I can actually build up a report, right? So I can automatically generate a report like this to say these are the three candidates, these are their popularity, their sentiments. Of course, this report is written by one of my graduate students, and since this is public, so we've got to be very careful not to involve any politics. So these are all the hot topics around the candidates. Yeah. Each candidate we select 6 hot topics. These are all the influential user. These are organization influential user, individual influential user, and so on. And all the hashtags, and so on. So from there, hopefully you get a very good comparative pictures of all the candidates. Yeah. So we can do this. We can also do it for movie, for example. This one we did it for Disney. Disney, yeah. So they want to compare their Transformer versus the Maleficent. They want to know their popularity in China and outside China. Right. So we track the Chinese social media platform and outside social media platform. So for example, if I go to one of the week, I need to log in again. Okay, so from the Twitter, which is represent the opinion outside the world. So in fact, this movie is more popular. But from Weibo, which is a Chinese platform, you can see that this movie is more popular. But you can also go in to say within China, outside China, why these are popular. I think one of the reasons is because the Chinese actress is there, location is in China, that kind of thing. Yeah. And also it's a more established brand, right? So people knows about this. Okay, so I'll just quickly go on. So these are just some of the things I showed you earlier. So in fact, the main things about this platform, in fact, for social media analysis is actually to know about events, topics, users, and most important part is their relationship from the social media point of view. From there, we can actually gain some insights. For example, if you see some peak here, I guess you can actually look into social media to know that this peak because one of the election candidates resigns as the chief minister, and that generates a lot of news. So there are lots of social media buzz about him, and then you can look at sentiment at that period, whether it's positive or negative, that people think that is going to election. For Gandhi, actually, most of the time he's actually not very popular, except at one stage, towards the end of the election, it becomes popular. And you can actually analyze it because he has a second televised interview. And then, and with that, all the social media posts start to talk about him on what his view and things like that. And so these are, you can see from there the positive view, the negative views, and so on. And then just now I showed you about the China, right? I think most in the past Indian actually keep a distance from China, except Modi. Modi talks about China all the time, actually. So you can see after his election, he started to build a relationship with China very quickly, and also around the world. I think Modi has an ambition to basically kind of link with all the neighbors in around India and so on to have a view of his own. And some of this actually you can see from this social media post. Yeah. So I'll just quickly go through what are the key technologies that we put in order to generate that system. I think the first of all, for any social media platform, I think the most important technology is the so-called data gathering technologies. Right? You can always crawl and then say I got 10,000 posts, and then you do some analysis. I think the first question, well, if I present it to a computer science conference, nobody will ask the question. If I present it to a social science platform, they will ask you, first thing is, are you sure this is reliable? How representative is this? And so on. I think all these questions are kind of reasonable questions. And these questions are all very hard to answer because nobody knows. In fact, even Twitter, they don't index everything. Right? Twitter they only index selective posts. Some of the posts that are too short, they'll throw it away, and so on. So, as we discussed with someone yesterday, actually the most important thing about social media, Twitter, that kind of platform, is the social signals. How many people post about this? And actually Twitter will throw away most of them because somebody will just say, I like, and things like that. These are actually, to them, it's non-informative. But if you are tracking a topic, this is very important. So you must be able to crawl it live. So what we did is basically, first of all, you always start with some keywords. Right? And of course the keyword changes all the time. So you need to do keyword expansion based on the latest post. Every topic we look at, for example, if we track Modi, I think as a politician, they have 20, 30 accounts that talk about him all the time. And these are likely to be relevant as well, so we need to crawl them. We need to figure out who are the most active users now. And we crawl everything from the active users. I guess for social media gathering, after a while you know roughly who are the active users. So for example, for Singapore, I think the active user is about 300,000, 300,000 to 400,000. And you need to know they are all of them actually, otherwise you cannot crawl it well. And then of course, later we talk about it, you need to be able to actually analyze images and things like that, especially for products. So by combining all of this, we show that actually we can have high coverage and diversity and also get most of the relevant information. But of course there are lots of noise. Second, of course, is the NLP analysis. And just now I showed you that you need to be able to do key phrase extraction, even for social media. Yeah. With key phrase, then you can figure out what are the name entities. And just now I showed you it's only person, location, and organization. Right? But if I do deep analysis of movie, right, I need to know, is there a movie star's name, is there a director's name, and things like that. So all this I will require deeper knowledge. This one probably I need to supplement that with a knowledge graph type of structures. Sentiment analysis standard, and then text classification. And I have to do that in, well, for our research, actually we look into Chinese and English. So all our analysis is in Chinese as well as English. I guess for Russian, it's only Russian language, is it? Oh, I was told that you have 100 languages, so it's not as simple as I thought. India got 300 languages, so it's the same. So in fact, every country got their own problem. If I will do that in Southeast Asia got about 30 to 40 languages. So language is actually a big problem. Yeah. Then the third aspect is noise removal. So we need a classifier to remove noise. Because the way we gather, actually get lots of noise. Event detection, I think as I mentioned, based on the set of data, we actually extract 10 events. Basically subtopics. You want to know what subtopics people are talking about. And then for the subtopics, I want to know which are the new subtopics and which are the existing subtopics. And of course, if I know there are some new subtopics, the next question is, will this subtopic become viral topics? So in prediction, I think currently in fact, a lot of people are working on prediction now. Prediction are typically, I want to know who are the influential users, whether a topic or message will become viral. I think if you go deeper, I want to know which participants are likely to participate in those viral topics and things like that. Yeah. And so basically, a lot of work are basically evolving around users and message. If you just look at message without user, actually is useless. And prescription, I think just now I showed you the report is one example, but of course report is the lowest level. But the key part is, if I can predict something is going to happen, if you tell it to your boss, I think your boss will not be very happy. But your boss will say, oh, very good. But the next question your boss will ask you is, what can I do about it? Right. So this is so-called prescriptive analytics. You should be able to suggest, okay, what can I do about it? Yeah. So in fact, the social analytics actually begin from analysis. I just analyze to tell you who are the influential users, what topics and things like that. It's being evolved into so-called predictive. I want to predict what's going to happen, into prescriptive, that I want to be able to prescribe something to say. How can I prevent those things or make those things that I want to happen? Okay, so these are the text level analysis, but if you go into the social media, you will realize that actually this is statistics about 3 years ago. More than 30% of microblog has images and video now, and out of these 30%, more than 40% do not have text, which means that 15% of the messages you don't know what they're talking about. But if I show you the latest social media platform, actually, I would say maybe more than 60% of messages, if you just focus on text, you don't really know what the users are sharing. You need to go into contents. Right? So the text alone is not sufficient. And but I guess it's interesting but on its own, because I think a lot of images have some social tagging, not all of them. And in fact, classifiers to do this detection are actually quite well developed. Right? So in fact, the current trend towards images is the so-called weekly supervised learning. Right? Instead of you give me a training example to say which image has dog, which image has cat, which image has car. Nowadays, people are working on give me a set of social media images where there are annotation provided by the users. You hope that most of them are correct, but some of them are wrong, and a lot of them do not have the correct annotation, and how you do learning from that. Okay, so the key evolutions of research in this area is that there are large-scale media resources are available, in fact, which is a good thing for research. Social media content actually shifted from text to images, and research on integrating text, user, and social networks are very popular. And of course, the multi-source, multi-task fusion are actually quite a popular research topic now, with many applications. Yeah. In fact, this is an era of so-called deep learning, improved content representation, and multi-modal fusion, especially for multimedia content analysis. So I'll just kind of introduce a few in a very quick way, because I do not have time to go deep. So basically, just now I mentioned about Pinterest. Pinterest is one example where this is a bot of a user, right? So he has a bot on cookies where he shares all kinds of cookies. Basically, he just go to the internet, his friend and things like anything looks interesting, he will just put it and put it there. He likes hair, this person, yeah. He likes pool, outdoor and things like that. So you know this person must be quite a rich person. If you can have a pool in the house, he must be very rich. And then for hair, you can actually go in there to see, she might be pulling the hair from some of the websites, some from her friends and things like that. So actually Pinterest is one area where you can see most of the users are ladies. 60–70% are ladies. By analyzing the contents on the bot that they share, actually you can have very good profile on what the person likes. And actually Pinterest, the business, commercial company likes this because it's very explicit on what you like. So it's very easy for me to target commercial to you. But of course the key part is that there is no text here. You have to analyze the text. Of course you can always trace all the way back to here, there are some text that might be relevant, but it's you really have to do the analysis. So actually one of our projects is basically to gather all this information to build a so-called visual profile of user. The other project of course is to look into logo detection. You give me a logo and the text. I will gather information with text as well as analyzing all the images for logos. So once I can figure out all the images with text and logo, then that means these images are correct. I can then figure out what are the products that these images typically appears in, and then I look for more products. So in this way, I can actually gather multi-sets of images, and then use that to basically figure out this logo or this product appears in what images. For those who are keen to do this, actually there's a big data set of 3 million images that we build up. Thankfully, you can actually use that to do your research. Yeah. Of course, the other area is deep learning. So this one area we look at is for video. So for video, actually, we want to look into content analysis based on visual, based on objects, based on movement, and based on scene. What scene that are likely to appear in this video, what objects are likely to appear in this video, and what actions are likely to appear in this video. So by looking at different features, we hope to be able to kind of analyze video from full, what, and point points of view. And so this paper will be kind of published in one of the journals. And the other area, of course, is very popular is once you go into image representation, the so-called low-dimensional representation, or you call it embedding. I mean, the more sexy term is not embedding, but actually it's just by reducing the high-dimensional space to low-dimensional. In the low-dimensional space, the relationship between different so if you kind of put the image representation, text representation, user representation into the same space and reduce them in some way, then the reduced space will show you the relationship between them. Right. So that's the whole idea. Right. So basically you want to go through this kind of deep learning to basically infer the relationship between images, between text and image, image and text, image and user, and so on. I'll just show you some results. So based on this one, on 1 million images on Yahoo, so you can actually, based on the embedded space we extracted, you can actually figure out the relationship between images and images. That means you give me one image, I can give you all the images that looks similar to this. Image, word to image, you give me a text, working, classical, then these are the pictures that will come out. Handsome is an abstract concept, and so on. Because handsome is used in some of the images, and with a large scale analysis, then this information can be extracted. Image to text, and then text to text. So given the dog, these are the terms that are related to dogs. And so these are some of the interesting things you can get. Supposing you type set, these are the images that will come up. Australia, somehow Australia is always related to enjoyment, right? So it's relaxation and enjoyment. Cute. And image to text, image to description. I think this is a very popular research now. I think it started from Google, but actually personally I don't find this very interesting because it all depends on how much text you have. Then you can get good text description. In fact, the key research here is given the image. Tell me which are the key objects of this image. Because if you know the key object, I can describe the image. Right? In fact, the difficult part is to tell me which are the key objects. The other area we work on is that given an image with the user feedback, we want to be able to do the embedding between the user and the images. So the so-called user behavior embedding into the image text as well as content. So this is one area that we are building up now, is so-called the framework for representational learning, by looking into multiple aspects of text, knowledge, network, video, images, as well as users. Network actually include users, and then try to build a common embedding space so that you can figure out who are the users like certain images, who are the text used to describe certain images, and so on. And of course, for this thing to work, the scale of data has to be very, very big. And social network actually fits into that very well. Social network is basically a kind of weakly labeled kind of a context. The other area will be kind of just now we talk about check-in, right? I mean, if I give you a GPS, there could be 1,000 locations that could be, you could be in there, you could be in this hall, you could be outside, you could be in someone else's office, you could be drinking coffee somewhere. And so with the check-in information, we want to know exact POI that you're in. So one researcher we look at is actually to supplement that with sound. Right? It's actually quite easy now to actually, the video you share actually has audio there. And we are working on some of those elderly projects whereby we sample the sound and the sound intervals, and then basically based on the sound, we want to know what environment that the user is in. Since we already know how to analyze image to roughly know the scene and text, sound actually is a part that actually there's not much work on it. Actually, analyzing the sound to know the background, to know the environment that you're in, to know whether there are people around you, and how far they are from you, whether they are male or female. Actually, these are all possible now. Okay, the other area I just want to quickly talk about is the user demography and mobility. I think again with all this social media data, you can actually do quite a bit of this work. I'll just quickly go through. I think Alex has talked a lot about this in the tutorial yesterday. Yeah. So mobility, actually, you can think of mobility as movement, right? Movement from here to there. In social media, you can think of mobility as social movement. Yeah, you move from one local community to another local community. You are promoted from one level to another level, that kind of thing. These are all mobility. So you need mobility for various things, for urban planning, for company is basically for advertisement, in-location advertisements. Yeah. So these are just some examples. With the demography, actually I can know a lot more about the users. I mean, the previous slide just tell you that there are people here. If I know about the general user, actually I know the distributions of users within, by the way, Singapore is here. This is Singapore. This big part is Malaysia. Singapore, I think, is what is 1/4 the size of St. Petersburg. Eh? That's one.
Geographically.
Yeah, geographically, Singapore is 1/4 the size of St. Petersburg. So St. Petersburg is actually very big, from my point of view. Yeah, then if you got the age profile, then you roughly know where the users. Yeah, these are the young people that tend to be staying in Singapore. Older people tend to go. This is Kuala Lumpur, this is capital of Malaysia, about 300 kilometers from Singapore. So actually with users location, with demography, actually you can derive a lot of information. Actually a lot of so-called insights. Actually I'm waiting for the social science people to actually help us to look more into this. For technical people, I think we focus on developing technical work. Okay, one key part about social media network is if you look at certain segment of user, most people has multiple social media platforms. Yeah. And in fact, most people are not they don't care. Well, let's say they don't care. They are openly publicized that they got multiple platforms. And with that, of course, we can use that to actually do a lot of work. One area is so-called user profiling. When they look at wellness profile, mobility profile, and demographic profile. For demographic profile, we are interested in their age, gender, interest, occupation, and things like that. Mobility, I guess, is location preference, movement patterns. Wellness is, we look at 3 illnesses: diabetes, depression, and obesity. These are kind of the critical illnesses whereby we can infer sufficient information on the web to infer all this information. Okay. So just to look at the user's point of view, supposing we know the Twitter, Foursquare, Instagram of the user, then we can actually analyze the user's demography from textual point of view, geographical point of view, and visual point of view. And by combining them, we should get a very good, accurate picture of users. Of course, the question, of course, is privacy, but of course, to this group of users, they actually openly tell you their multiple social accounts. In fact, some of the users, we also know their exercise view. For example, in Europe, there's an odometer, which is very popular in Europe. People upload their exercise data there. If we can get that, actually, we also get the exercise view. With this one, actually, we should have sufficient information to actually look at some of the users who wants you to know. But of course, in the long run, by crowding this thing, it's actually not a solution. Actually, you want a group of users to basically engage with you so that you should be able to tell them what you can help them so that they happily give you the data. So from the textual point of view, we can actually analyze their personality by looking at LIWC feature. You can analyze the topics that are like. From the topic, actually, you can roughly tell their gender, their age, and so on, and occupations. And also, you can analyze their writing behavior, whether they commit a lot of spelling error and things like that. So by writing behavior, you can actually know about their age and so on. From the location, of course, location you will know about where they go to and things like that. And again, for images, we can analyze images for so-called 1,000 concepts that are reasonably accurate. And from this 1,000 concepts, we are able to basically tell the interests as well as profile of the users. So we can combine these three. So this one from text, I can look at it from personality point of view, topic, which is interest, and then the behavior. Location, I analyze the location semantics, the location topics. Images, I look at types of images they share. In fact, one thing you want to know is whether they share food or not food, actually. And food, you want to know whether they share cakes or others. The certain food, of course, is very hard to find, but at least at a high level, you would know. And of course, if I got the exercise sensor data, then I also have the so-called exercise vector categories and so on, whether they are running, they are cycling, and so on. Yeah, and then if I combine them, of course I can generate the kind of more accurate results. So these are just some of the data sets we use, and then basically initially we look at gender and age, but now we are actually looking at interest, occupation, and other things. And with that, I can know roughly the movement pattern of a person within their locality. This is from user's point of view. From business point of view, I can know if I got all my users' account, I can know where my users come from. Yeah, these are the distributions of key users within my business operation area. So this could be one of the restaurants, supermarket, and things like that. You probably know where your users are. Of course, you can always go into more sophisticated multi-source, multi-task learning model by looking into a more kind of principled kind of model by looking at this modeling. And then the key part is that you want to, if you are fusing multiple sources, you want to ensure source consistency as well as source confidence. Yeah, you want to bring this into consideration when fusing all the multi-source information. So there are many applications, like I mentioned, many aspects of user profiling, user volunteer tendency, health modeling, and so on. Okay, I'll just quickly go through the last topic. I think I got 3 minutes, I think. Yeah. So I think the other area with health is basically critical illnesses. And these are the 6 critical illnesses so the reason we call it wellness is that we don't want this to be conceived as a medical project, because once it's medical food. And the 3 areas that are important for wellness consideration, one is food, exercise, and medical tests. So the eating behavior, you can get it from the tweet they send, from the images they share. exercise, I think if they do the endometer, actually some people will say, yeah, I go for 10K run in the messages. So actually you can extract partially some of this information. And some people actually share this thing, or their actual exercise data. For those with diabetes, a certain group of people, they regularly send out their sugar level to say, oh, my sugar level is too high now, I need to exercise. Today my sugar level is this, and so on. So for a certain segment, about a few thousand people, actually we can get this information very regularly. And they actually share it with their friends. Yeah. If you go to Twitter, I think there's a few hashtags that describe all these people. And the treatment as well. So the whole idea is to combine all this into so-called the health profile, so that I know the so-called the health timeline of the user. At what time roughly they do what. But of course this is very sparse. We need to look at it at the group level as well as over a longer period. Okay. So these are the 3 areas we look at, and these are just some of the accuracies. Okay, the key part I want to say is social media is just one aspect. In fact, the other area that are important will be the health sensor data, if I can get them, or I can get a selective group to look at this. Environmental data. The third and most important one is the health knowledge. But there are lots of health knowledge from those encyclopedia data, those health knowledge maintained by hospitals, the question answering system maintained by different social media, high quality social media platforms. So basically one of our projects actually is to gather all of this together into a so-called health taxonomy, so that we can use it to support 6 critical illnesses. So from there you want to be able to basically look at wellness behavioral profile groups. One area is prediction of critical diseases. Are you likely to be problem cases? Of course, if we get it wrong, it's okay, because in the process we help you to lead a more healthy lifestyle. I think that's what the whole objective is. So the reason we call it wellness, of course, this is the time before you see a doctor, and hopefully you will never ever need to see a doctor. I think that's the whole purpose. So in summary, I think I kind of I didn't mention this, but privacy is always the most important concern now. I think whoever do this research has to do a bit of privacy. But actually, I forgot to add in, privacy is just one angle. And in fact, it's impossible to keep your privacy if you want to use a mobile phone. I mean, there's no way you can talk about privacy. You still use mobile phone, you still use e-commerce system, they know about you. The important thing is about transparency. A company need to tell me what they know about me. And I got the right to ask them to remove those info. I think these legislation are coming up, I think. So part of this research actually to figure out how much do they know about us. Actually, we should be able to know that, and then from there you can actually do a bit more. I think if you want to demand total privacy, the best is don't use a mobile phone and don't go into any social networks. Yeah, so I think just a quick summary, we built this from multiple sources. And we are actually building an academic system based on the platform I showed you just now. I think once we are ready, we'll be happy to distribute to all the academic institutions to use for their lectures and research onto social media analytics. So the key challenges now is that there are more videos, more noise, more reactive and prescriptive kind of actions required. So actually, more research needs to be done in this area. And so these are just some of the current works. Collaborative social observatory platform, whereby different countries will work on their own problems, and then we can combine all the results together into a so-called more international kind of studies. User profiling and privacy, analyzing those videos, and maybe very soon you need to look at 3-dimensional data that people are sharing. Predictive, prescriptive, and wellness. And of course, one application that everybody talk about is smart city. But smart city will include wellness, include government policy, include all these things, which is offer a very good area for social media analytics and research. Yeah. So I'll stop here. Yeah. Hope time for some questions. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you for that. And I think we had several times several questions.
Thank you very much. It's something exciting for me. The best paper for me. It's a kind of encyclopedia for me. But I thought in English, this helped me with the translation because I use new ideas for presentation. Я изучаю систему образования и пытаюсь найти там социальную реальность. Она там отсутствует.
She studies the education system and tries to find where the social reality which is absent in educational system now.
It's one idea.
It's one idea.
Educational system.
Yeah.
I have found very interesting material only on TED. TED, there is program, ideas was spreading, if you know TED, 3 letters. TED. There was a presentation of Hans Rosling about demography, about demography for 50 years around the world. But another idea, мой институт, социологический институт, он пытается найти, с кем-то объединиться, потому что Российская академия наук разрушается.
Еще раз. Социологический институт, социологический институт. Social Institute tries to collaborate with somebody because Russian Academy doesn't allow it.
У нас была дискуссия в институте, и наш директор предложил объединиться с Институтом социально-экономических проблем.
We had a discussion in the institute and we decided to merge this Institute of Social Problems.
Но я думаю, я предложила, что нам нужно объединяться с ИКМО, нам нужны новые технологии, потому что Институт экономических проблем – это старая статистическая парадигма. Нас не...
Yeah, it was I think, I don't know, but it was a comment that current trend is to merge with some like social scientists, but in fact what is actually needed for educational system is to collaborate with computer scientists and to do this kind of research because it's like more crucial now than just doing old school like social research.
I suppose each social sphere for education should followed by this kind of materials. How change situation in the world related to health, to education, to more and more family and so on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for the comments. Yeah, I just want to mention I think the application, there's lots of applications. Actually, I just mentioned 2 that we are working on. But if you, for education, if you know about MOOC, MOOCCS, which is so there are lots of research now actually getting the MOOC to study the user behavior, including their social media behaviors and so on. So I think that's certainly a big trend. The other thing I didn't mention is, actually I wanted to put there but I forgot, is that the social media is only one aspect. Online and offline are more important. You need to also figure out the actual user behavior and combine them with social behavior. I think the danger is to treat whatever you extract from social media as the truth, because it's not complete. It's not a complete picture. Yeah, I think thanks for the question.
Maybe one small question. Yeah.
Yes, I have a question. How do you measure accuracy and precision of your systems?
For academic, I think we all have our data sets. Yeah. So for example, for event detection.
So you compare your predicted values with the what's the ground truth of the?
Well, there are a few data sets that has ground truth.
Yes, so some registered sets. Yes.
Yeah. So for example, a few data sets I show you. There are actually people tagging it, so that's correct or wrong, but they are not accurate, but at least it's better than none. Yeah. So we use that as an evaluation.
You said it's a psychological virus as well.
Hi, I have a question about provenance. So you showed this network of countries with the India election, and they were links, and then there were these entities. But can you go back to the original sources with your system? Is it possible for the users?
Yes, yes. Yeah. Original sources will be the original tweets.
Yeah, that's fine.
But of course, for politics, I think you might want to link to the news as well.
Well, whatever is the source, but yeah.
Okay. These are possible. Because right now you can link back to original tweets. At every of the link, you can click on it, the list of tweets contribute to those links are there. And you can link back. And of course, to be more accurate, you need to link back to news sources, you link back to the source of information and things like that.
Yeah, that's very good because it's a very important element that people actually know where it came from, right? They would not believe.
Yes, in fact, that's a key part about it.
Okay.
So then you can make assessment of whether this is true or not.
Thank you.
Only one. I think that it can be done out there because we need to have a break to catch a crowd out there. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, all right.